Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. The Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian are talking about movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.
Welcome to Movie Film. This is episode 148, brought to you by Mr. Boy Productions. My name is Zachy Hassan, and I'm here with my pal Brian Hall.
Hey, good morning, Zachy.
Good morning. It is Sunday morning.
Yeah, this is one of those morning episodes, and we've been told by people who listen that sometimes we sound a little more chipper.
We're a little more sprightly. We have a bit of a swing in our step.
Yeah. Instead of a big cup of water, I have a big cup of coffee. So
there you go.
That's part of it too.
And I'm fasting, so I'm imagining that cup of coffee.
Oh well, it's not even that good anyway. So.
I'm drinking coffee vicariously through you. So it is a Star Wars movie weekend, and as per usual, the great thing about when a Star Wars movie comes out is you can just sit down in front of the mic and you can pull up the news and look at all the records that have been broken in the wake of the release of a Star Wars movie. So let me go ahead and pull up the box office for Solo, a Star Wars story. What?
Zachy, what's happening?
I feel a disturbance in the Force, Brian. So this is not a conversation I ever expected to have, but here we are. Disney has released their first, dare I say, bomb in the Star Wars franchise.
Bomb, I think, is subjective. I would go with disappointment.
Okay,
right?
It's sort of like when you talk to your kid. I'm not angry. I'm disappointed.
Because this is still going to make lots of money.
It's going to make lots of money longitudinally.
Yes, not anything near what they had hoped for, or I think the world expected.
Well, let me quote here Scott Mendelson, who does box office analysis at Forbes, who says, Solo, a Star Wars story, performed at near worst-case scenario levels this Memorial Day weekend. And this has been a fascinating thing because to me, worst-case scenario was like Justice League. Because remember when Justice League came out last fall, it was one of those things where they went into opening weekend with certain predictions, and then the projection kept dropping every day. So from Friday to Saturday to Sunday. And now here we are with Solo, a Star Wars story, which has managed to make less in its opening 3 days than Justice League did. So Justice League opened with $94 million, and Solo is looking like $83 million for the 3 days and $101 million for the 4-day weekend. Now that's a steep drop from projections as recent as a week ago, which said it would be somewhere between $150 and $170 million.
What do you think happened?
That's the question. That's the question that they'll be asking in the boardrooms of Disney tomorrow, because this is not something they're used to, I would imagine. Certainly not when you put the words Star and Wars together in a title.
Yeah. Well, and also, initial projections, like those aren't just willy-nilly. those are some sort of tried and true equation that is rarely wrong.
It's an algorithm, Brian.
Yeah.
And not just that. The tickets pre-sales were on point. It was looking like, certainly because you and I, we look at the same stuff, and there was nothing in the numbers that was cause for alarm for either of us.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, by all the math pointed to this being a certain thing, and then for it to have changed that dramatically. I don't know. That you could write a book on that. I imagine. I don't really know. It's interesting. Well, I obviously I'm sure we both have theories.
We have theories, and ultimately, this is a movie that you and I both enjoyed.
Yeah.
We've both seen it twice at this point, and we enjoyed it both times.
Mm-hmm.
Worth pointing out.
I was
here,
even. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say. They screened it for critics 2 weeks early, which is not something that tends to happen unless they're feeling really good about the film.
I was just going to bring that up because I can't remember if we've mentioned this on the show, but you invited me up to see it early with you at a press screening, and we walked out. We'll get into it more, but we enjoyed it, let's say. And I remember thinking, like, yeah, it'd be kind of fun to record our reactions before we have any idea what the world thinks of this movie. Like, let's just, put it on record, put it out there, and see what happens. And it would have been a very different podcast.
It would, and that was the intention until Brian's internet got in the way.
Yeah. I had some internet issues that have messed up a couple attempts at recording for us.
This is a longer than usual gap for the podcast, folks, and it's not by design. It's because Brian was dialing in from 1994. Apparently,
almost quite literally.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if anyone really wants to hear about this, but
you're hearing it, people.
Yeah, I don't even know, like, if one of these or the other is like some sort of advertisement that plays during our show. So I'll just say that Schmay TNT Schmewverse really dropped the ball, and I am now with Schmectrumish sort of cable company, and running at quadruple the speed at lower the price than I was originally. And Zachy and I don't have a 2 to 3 second lag between one another. So, yeah, we're not doing that juggling act of conversation anymore, which is delightful.
We made a good faith effort. We have a Attack of the Clones commentary that is forthcoming, and the reason it's been delayed slightly is because we had to take a mulligan on it because think about it. This is like juggling chainsaws or drinking water while talking through a ventriloquist dummy, because we're trying to watch the movie in sync, but the sync of the movie was actually off by about 3 seconds between us.
Mm-hmm.
And so Brian and I are talking to each other with a 3-second delay on top of that as we're responding to parts of the movie that are just slightly off. And I was going crazy. I wanted to reach through the phone and delete Brian's hard drive. That's how upset I was.
Yeah, no, and I was. And then we also had the sort of Dropbox conundrum where my Dropbox was syncing to Zachy's computer. Regardless, a lot of stuff going on.
This is the weirdest thing, yeah, because I have like 700 gigs on my computer, and I keep getting these notifications that are like, you're running out of hard drive space. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. And I'm like deleting stuff. I'm deleting like wedding video, baby's first steps, like all these files, because I'm just trying to make room. And it's every hour I'm getting new notifications that I have less and less memory. And I'm like, what is going on here? And then I do a search, and it's all these like files from Brian's work and stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't think those are mine.
Yeah, well, it's funny because, we share Dropbox for the show, and we put files and swap them and whatnot. And a friend of the show, a friend of ours, Michael Olson, turned me on to Dropbox for, like, my permanent, big overall data storage. And I got to say, I love it. I'm not going to schmrotbox it.
But why is the show delayed? Thanks, Michael.
Well, from my end, all my data is safe and secure, so it was going great. But we didn't realize that it was all also uploading to Zach.
It was syncing to my hard drive.
But I mean, if we were to actually post that show, it was literally me being like, R2-D2 can blah, blah, blee, blue. And then there'll be like this little gap, and then Zachy would go. I mean, that was like literally what was happening. So as soon as it was over, we were like, maybe this is worth another show.
We have never done this. I mean, generally speaking, like literally, I was thinking about this, Brian, because we've now done well over 150 shows if you include the podcasts, and I've never once had a situation where we were done, and both of us were like, "Meh." And I texted you, and I was like, "How do you feel about that one?" You're like, "Not so good," and we're both of us like, "You want to redo it?" We've never ever done that.
Yeah,
like whatever garbage we record, we just put it out there. We don't care. Whatever steaming dump we take, it's put out there for your consumption. That's how bad it got.
I think there was one, but it was like episode 9 or something like that. Like something went wrong and we scrapped it. But this is the only one where we did it, and for all intents and purposes, I mean, both ends were there, but they just did not come together the way we hoped, and that's how much we care.
That's
right?
we do care. That's the threshold. That's the baseline.
Yeah, we're not going to put out Bantha Poodoo here.
Bantha Poodoo. Thank you very much. Speaking of Bantha Poodoo, how about the Solo box office? I want to pull from Scott Mendelson here again because Scott has, over the years of doing his box office analysis, been pretty fair in how he looks at the trends, and he's certainly not a hater of this franchise. Yeah. And he certainly didn't go into this movie expecting to hate it or wanting it to fail, which is, by the way, something that really irks me when people say, "Oh, it's bombing. I'm so glad."
I know.
That drives me crazy because a couple things. Number one, you shouldn't be happy when a movie bombs. You should be disappointed that it didn't do better.
Right.
Or that it didn't turn out better. Right? Because it's like people's lives and livelihoods are tied up in this.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, if you're a Star Wars fan, like what delight do you I don't know. It's weird. This sounds like a Sith sort of way of thinking to me.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So let's see. Here we go. Just pulling bits and pieces from Scott. He says, when your $250 to $300 million, thanks to reshoot sci-fi prequel, opens with $101 million over 4 days, with a lower weekend multiplier than X-Men Apocalypse, with awful overseas numbers to boot, the odds are beyond grim. Yes, the reviews are decent, and the next 2 weeks are relatively vacant, but even an arguable best-case scenario of 2.5 times multiplier, a la Men in Black 3 in 2012, gives the Ron Howard-directed film a domestic total just under the $248 million debut weekend of The Force Awakens.
Wow.
So that's, think about that. It cost about $250 million to make on the low end, and this will, best case scenario, not even match its production budget.
Yeah, and it had the unique situation of pretty much being made twice.
Right, exactly. And the thing is, they did that, you have to imagine, under the assumption that, well, it's Star Wars and we'll make that back.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine that this scenario even entered into the calculus. I don't think they seriously thought that it would bomb.
No, I can't imagine.
Right?
Yeah.
So, how do we talk about this? I don't know. We haven't talked about the movie. We have to talk about it through the prism of disappointment.
Yeah, well, and as you were reading that, my phone lit up and I looked and it's like, Solo, bombs in China. I'm like, oh man, I'm just going to be getting this like ticker all day.
But what's funny is that it was preordained that it was going to bomb in China.
Right.
Because China has apparently rejected the Star Wars franchise.
Right.
So this movie had to work that much harder to win over an international audience. It's kind of interesting because unlike many other big ticket franchises, Star Wars is one of the few that tends to play better domestically than internationally.
Right.
I actually don't know why that is. That's kind of curious to me. But
yeah, for being big, shiny action films, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's the type of thing that tends to play well around the globe. But go figure. So how do we want to approach our discussion of Solo? And actually, I just realized we haven't even talked about Deadpool 2.
Yeah, we were going to do that, and we were going to sort of split this episode. So.
Yeah. So Deadpool 2 is actually another situation where it opened okay last weekend. It came in under projections, but kind of the bottom fell out this weekend.
Did it? Because, yeah, I know they were disappointed. It seemed like last weekend it opened $5 million below Deadpool 1.
Yes.
So people were looking at that as a failure, I guess. I mean, it's like a $125 million weekend, like, is a failure. It's still hard for me to...
Right.
Like, I'll take a $125 million failure bucks.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It dropped this weekend by 66%.
Right. Is that crazy, though?
Well, I mean...
I think... sometimes I wonder if people are trying to puff Deadpool into a bigger thing than it really is.
That I agree with.
Yeah. Like, Deadpool isn't Star Wars or Avengers, and it doesn't have to be. That's not a ding against it.
I mean, you know what? Honestly, the common denominator, in my opinion, for both this movie and Solo is the date. They opened both of them in summer, and they didn't need to. Deadpool 2 should have been a spring or fall movie.
Right.
And Solo, if nothing else, Disney's going to say we need to lock in December as our Star Wars date.
Yeah.
Now, as far as Deadpool, you have seen it, right?
I have, yeah.
What'd you think of? What'd you think of it as a return to that character?
Well, I mean, going back to Deadpool 1 was really interesting because I'd read like maybe one or two of his comics, and it was this movie that caught everybody by surprise, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was like a little buzz for it, but no one expected it to be this juggernaut, no pun intended, that it was. And then all of a sudden, everybody, gets on the Deadpool train. And it's one of those movies that I really enjoyed. And sometimes on cable, I'll stop on it. But I never found myself like going back to it a lot.
Yeah.
But just because it was sort of like people were saying it was this breath of fresh air, and it did feel like that, but it didn't feel super repeatable to me at the same time. Like it was just this fun sort of...
I agree with that.
Yeah. And so I actually had a pretty similar feeling to Deadpool 2, where I thought it was really fun. It was like 2 hours of fun. It was like a big blast of something different, especially I don't know if you want to call it genre mixing, but I mean, it's like a superhero film, but it's also like a Family Guy episode, and it's also, this one was like bigger, the action, and different twists and turns and time travel, and I was like, that was great, but I didn't give it a ton of thought the next day.
Yes.
So, and that's kind of, I'd say, I really was thinking about this, and I was like, yeah, it really does feel like a Family Guy superhero movie in that, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I know for some people that'll be like a negative thing, but I think Family Guy is interesting where they're the type of show that has like 200 jokes in 22 minutes, and they throw it all at the wall, and like a good number of them stick, and you're like, or it references something that you know and like, and it's either clever, and sometimes it's like just a reference for reference sake, and when you end it, like if you're flipping channels and you stop on it on TBS, for a little stop, you're like, yeah, all right,
yeah,
and then you just kind of move on. So that's kind of what Deadpool I think is for me.
I agree with you. Like I don't believe I've revisited it since it came out.
Mm-hmm.
The first one. Well, no, that's not true. I watched it with my wife, which, in hindsight, was a mistake because she didn't like it. Who knew?
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk? But it's not. I mean, it's not coming from a place of dislike, but it's just I think it goes down easy and it kind of stays down. And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when it came time for the sequel, I was not one of those people who was like super excited for it. I was just like, oh, I'll watch it.
Yeah, ditto. It sounds like we're pretty much in the same boat.
So I would expect we had the same reaction to the movie.
Yeah, and but I mean, it sounds like it's so funny because I mean this in like a positive way, but I think it sounds almost slanted negative. But I thought it had, for being a sequel, it did have like a lot of fun subversions and surprises and cameos and a joke that I know you had to put in the trailer, but I wish that they hadn't. I thought for me, the Peter character,
yes,
who joins X-Force, he's just a regular guy, and they're like, "You're on the team," and him jumping out of the with a parachute out of a plane, and I thought it was fun, but that just like cracked me up when I saw that in the trailer, and I almost wish that had been a surprise in the film.
I agree. I mean, well, to be honest, what I liked about the movie is that it had a lot more heart than I was expecting.
Yeah.
And that almost sounds like you almost need to say it in quotes, like it had heart,
Yeah. Right.
Because, I mean, this is still a Deadpool movie, but they found a way to make this character, who could very easily become one-dimensional, they found a way to give him kind of enough pathos where you want to go along on this journey, and it's not just it's plenty of just like rapid fire one-liners, but there is sort of an emotional heartbeat underneath it.
Oh, I totally agree, and I thought this with the first one because he begins by wisecracking to the screen and making fun of his own movie and things like that. But in both films, I was really impressed how he was able to juggle that sort of thing, but also make you really invest in like the love story.
Yes,
with him and his girlfriend Vanessa, and in both films, I mean, they can jump from something ridiculous and winky and breaking fourth wall, and then the next moment they're like, no, be serious with us for a second, okay?
Right.
And then you do, and then they hop back out of it, and that's something both films I thought really succeeded with.
Yeah, I mean, without I mean, we're like basically doing non-spoiler, right?
Yeah, I don't think right. We don't really.
I don't think we need to. Yeah, there's an emotional through line connected to him and his girlfriend. Let's put it that way. That culminates in a moment close to the end with a scene between the two of them. That I was genuinely surprised how emotional it was.
Uh huh.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course.
And that caught me by surprise because it showed to me that Ryan Reynolds has put some thought into how he plays this character, where he wears a layer of snark and sarcasm, but there's a real person underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I was, again, it caught me by surprise on two levels. Number one, that I was genuinely like, I was caught up in that. But again, the mechanics of how Ryan Reynolds approaches this character was that impressed me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense.
I mean, like, enough can't be said about what he brings. These movies wouldn't exist without Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah.
I mean, quite literally in the business side of things, but also this, like, he is Deadpool,
and nobody else could do it.
Yeah, do that, like, say, that juggling act.
Because I was actually thinking about that because the movie makes a lot of jokes at like Hugh Jackman's expense, and it's a very similar situation because Hugh Jackman is Wolverine, right?
Right.
But I almost think that Deadpool is an even harder proposition because Hugh Jackman has retired from that role, and there will probably be another Wolverine at some point, right?
Right.
Deadpool, it's an even harder thing to replace Ryan Reynolds because it's Ryan Reynolds in that suit. That's all. You know what I mean?
I didn't even think about that. Trying to do this, say, 10 years from now with someone else.
Right.
I mean, they're just going to either sound like a guy trying to do his voice, sort of like Jamie Kennedy in The Mask 2 or something.
Yes. Right.
Like, somebody stop me.
Yeah, because it's not a character. It's Ryan Reynolds wearing a red suit.
Yeah.
So it's an even harder prospect,
Yeah.
And I need to, I'm 11-year-old me was just ecstatic watching this because I was a huge fan of the character Cable growing up.
Right.
And I think I said this in my review. I can't remember, but like I'm sitting there watching Cable come to life, this character who I just adored when I was just a little kid, and Josh Brolin just embodies this character, and I'm sitting here like, am I actually watching Cable in live action? Is this happening? It's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah,
and he was great.
Yeah, he's great. And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they do reshoots to add more of him?
I don't recall, but that wouldn't surprise me.
I thought I read that, and then actually knowing that, I was a little surprised that there wasn't more of him.
Yes,
I sort of felt like his arc got short shrift until the third act when they just sort of went all in on that. And I don't know. I felt like I wish that had been a little more present throughout.
Yes, I agree with that
for the ending that we got. But
well, I almost
said he brings a lot to it, much like Reynolds.
It almost felt like a nested pilot in a TV series.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Where you're like, okay, and now watch. Now Cable goes off to Miami and opens up a detective agency, and we're gonna follow that. CBS
right.
Wednesdays. Like. That's what it felt.
That's like totally, that's totally it.
And I'm probably screwing up. Is it Zazie Beetz?
Zazie Beetz? I was just about to bring her up. Yeah,
she was just. I've never seen her in anything, but she was a revelation in this.
No, yeah, she was one of those people as Domino. Like she's one of those people that immediately you're like, all right, I'm ready to watch more of her.
Yeah,
like in her whole shtick of that her superpower is luck. This is the perfect movie for someone to have that superpower because they can be like. Right. Like make fun of it and utilize it in really interesting ways at the same time.
Yeah. Just a very solid. I suppose, if anything, the box office story for this movie, it's what you expect because I think the tendency to be like, oh, every sequel needs to top the previous one is just a mistake in general.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually like the fact that rather than go bigger and wider, a la like Transformers movies, this one actually did go a little deeper.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yes, there's clearly a bigger budget, but it's not. I'm trying to think of like a comparison. It's not like most comedy sequels are like Meet the Fockers. Or like Austin Powers, where it's like, oh, it's all those jokes from before, but now more, and you're like, okay, okay, I get it,
Right.
Like instead of like, remember in the first Austin Powers, there's like the penis montage,
Yes.
and then in Austin Powers 2, it's like same thing, but now it's like 20 minutes long.
Right, and there's more cameos.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like with this, they skewed that and they said, no, we're gonna go a little deeper so that it's still funny, but you have a little bit more to care about.
Yeah, and it just images are flashing through my head now. But when how he wants to be an X-Men, and when he shows up at that scene, and he's wearing like a little football trainee X-Men. What do you call those? Like whatever, like half shirts. Like it's just, it's just funny.
This is funny.
It's just silly and it's fun. It's kind of
we're talking about cameos. We were talking about in Austin Powers, but even the way they nestled in little cameos in this. Very funny.
Oh, yeah. It's funny, because I have a lot of stuff written down here when we were going to do a whole episode about this that are sort of spoilery. They're not worth it. But, like, yeah, the cameos were, like, super fun. And there were some that I think I didn't get till the next day when it was pointed out.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So.
And I do think it's funny that if not in, I don't know if this was in the movie, but when I watched it, there was like a little PSA before the movie, which I don't know if that was in front of all of them, but where Deadpool is talking to the camera and he's like, don't bother trying to wiki Cable because his history is just a mess.
That was before the film?
Well, I think it was just like in the thing that they showed us. For
interesting.
Critics. That's why I'm not sure if it was in every screening, but I just thought that was funny. But that's very true. I almost wish that was in front of the movie proper. Because I'm sure a lot of people did that. I'm sure after the movie ended, they went to Wikipedia and they're like, "What is going on here?"
That's pretty funny.
Because I didn't just see a catastrophe. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, so the character Cable is actually, and Brian, you probably don't know this.
No.
He is the son of Cyclops.
Okay.
Who came back from the future to try to prevent a terrible future from happening for mutants. So as a baby, Cyclops. Okay, here we go. And I know Sean Coyle is listening. Sean, I'm doing this for you because I'm sweating. This is flop sweat. My shirt is soaked. So Cyclops. So Jean. Okay, here we go.
Wow, okay. And this was obviously enough, too, for Ryan Reynolds to get in a suit and set up lights and point a camera to say, not to, like, go into the weeds or anything.
Okay. So Jean Grey became the Phoenix, and she died. And she was Scott Summers, a.k.a. Cyclops' one true love. So she dies. So Scott is despondent, and then, like, a year or so later, whatever, he meets this woman named Madeline Pryor, who's, like, the spitting image of Jean Grey, right? And he's like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. And he falls in love with her. And they end up getting married. And they end up having a son, Nathan. Okay? Meanwhile, turns out that Jean Grey actually wasn't turned into the Dark Phoenix. She was actually preserved in like a cocoon in the bottom of the ocean because the Dark Phoenix actually just took her form and thought it was Jean Grey and then died. So Jean Grey herself is actually still alive.
Okay.
And she comes out of a coma or whatever, and she's like, hey, where's Scott? And it's like Scott is actually married to like her doppelganger who he thinks is, who he married her because she looked like Jean Grey. And Jean Grey's like, hey, I'm back. And so Scott's like, well, dude, why am I married to her? And so he ditches his wife and child to go back to Jean Grey.
Oh, wow, okay.
So then it turns out that Madeline Pryor actually isn't just a doppelganger. She actually is a clone of Jean Grey created by a character named Mr. Sinister for #reasons. I don't know why.
Okay.
And she becomes a character called the Goblin Queen.
Okay.
These are X-Men comics in the 80s, which I should point out, if you were a sophisticated comic reader in the 80s, you read X-Men, Brian.
Okay, all right.
Can't you tell by this bunch of argle-bargle nonsense I just said? Anyway, a bunch of stuff happens. I don't remember. Madeline Pryor dies, I think. And so Scott has his son, Nathan. And something happens. He gets infected with something called a technovirus, and so somebody
Right.
from the future, his daughter with Jean Grey from an alternate future comes back in time to take him to the future to cure him, and so he's taken to the future, and that's where he becomes like a cyborg because this technovirus has like eaten away parts of his body, and his power is telekinesis, by the way. And then at some point he comes back to the past, and he starts an army called X Force because he's like, making peace with humans is enough. We have to be prepared for war, and that's where X Force comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually followed all that.
Well, that's because you've been friends with me for too long. I'm about to pass out.
Yeah, well, that is, needless to say, pared down quite a bit.
Yes.
For this film.
They smartly allude to none of that.
Yeah.
Which I think is the way to go. But I enjoyed it. Oh, and by the way, I thought this was interesting. The character of Juggernaut makes an appearance in the film. It's not a huge surprise. But Ryan Reynolds did the motion capture for Juggernaut. So it's his face and voice.
Yeah, which I did not realize as I was watching.
I didn't either. And Juggernaut we saw previously in X-Men The Last Stand. It was played by Vinnie Jones. So it seems in many ways this movie is actively trying to fix the mistakes of the previous X-Men films, which I thought was amusing.
Yeah.
So that is our take on Deadpool. Now let's talk about Solo, a bomb. You know what the odds are of this movie bombing? Never tell me the odds, Brian.
Never tell me the odds.
That's I don't know, man. It's weird. I was hoping to be having a fun conversation about this movie that you and I both enjoyed, but I don't know. How do we want to approach this conversation?
Well, our listeners are our friends here, so I'll tell the sort of real world story of this. Where a couple weeks ago, Zachy reaches out to me and says, "Hey, Brian, if I were able to take you to Solo about 2 weeks early, would you fly up to the Bay Area?" And I was like, "Yeah." So flew up there,
and literally, it was like I texted him. I'm like, "Hey, just putting it out there. It's there's a screening on this date if you want to come." And like 15 minutes later, Brian texts me a screen grab of his like ticket,
plane ticket.
Yeah,
yeah. And so, and I think all this realistically sort of coats the whole. I'm gonna coat my take on the movie too. Just being honest. But so we fly up there. We have like a fun friend weekend. We're hanging out. I'm getting to catch up with his family and whatnot. And so then we finally go to the film, and it's like all critics, and we're in the theater. The Lucasfilm logo comes up, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm not supposed to see this for another couple of weeks. And I'm getting like really giddy and excited. And the movie kicks off, and I'm like, okay. And then more and more as it goes along, I'm like, I'm really enjoying this. And about halfway through, I thought, okay, like I'm really liking this. Please don't stop. Like I was a little worried that the bottom could drop out. But when all was said and done, when it was over, I think you and I actually, without being unprompted, we looked at each other and went, "Hey!"
Right?
Because we were both like, "Wow!" And I told you there in the theater, I had flashbacks to when you flew down 10 years ago for Crystal Skull, and we had the exact opposite experience.
It's true. This was like the inverse of that, exactly 10 years later.
Yeah, because it was like this fun friend weekend. So the experience of seeing this movie was heightened a little bit, and that was like we felt like we were in a bad dream. And in this one, I was like, I really enjoyed this, and I think so. I say that because obviously there's a little bit of friendship magic that was sprinkled over this experience, and also, I think this movie for everyone, we were obviously not hating on it or wanting it to not do well like some people, but at the same time, I think expectations were a little lower because inevitably you hear about some behind the scenes stuff and you're just hoping for it to come out all right.
Yes.
And so with all of those things factored together, I walked out thinking, man, I really enjoyed myself. Like this was a really, really fun movie. And I think, so again, we were living with that for about 2 weeks, and it was interesting then seeing reviews come out. And I noticed when I was reading reviews, they all seemed to have a great time, but felt like they had to add some sort of caveat. Mm-hmm. And I'm not exactly sure why that was. Like it's almost like they were covering their bases a little bit.
Yeah.
But it seemed like most people were like, dude, that was a blast. I had a great time. And I think for me, well, obviously we're going to get more into this, but I I think it felt really old school in a way that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I think it felt like it was when I was telling people before they saw it, I said, these other episode films, 7, 8, they're beholden to all these other films, and they have this mythology that they have to figure out how to push and continue to make surprising and interesting. And this movie had the benefit of it just had to be a romp. In a way, it reminded me of like an Indiana Jones film, where it's like a character we know and like, and a thing is presented to him, and then he does it, and then the movie's over. And it doesn't have to think too hard. It just has to be fun and surprising and a good time. And for me, Solo was a great time.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, what I said before the movie came out was that the highest hurdle was convincing people that somebody else could embody this character. Mm-hmm. And if you could get past that, well, then you've opened up a whole new, stream of movies potentially. Mm-hmm. With Alden Ehrenreich, playing Han Solo. And when we walked out of the theater, I was like, well, they did it. What I tweeted was Han Solo lives again. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that. I think he really lived up to the character in a way that makes it different. I mean, he's not doing a Harrison Ford impression, but he's playing Han Solo. Mm-hmm. And what I made the comparison in my review, and I do think it's apt, is he does what Chris Pine did with Captain Kirk.
Right.
And so I was, again, I walked into the theater sort of thinking with that in mind, like, well, they need to convince us that somebody else can be Han Solo, and once people see it, they'll see that that's the case, and then off we'll go. We'll have like a whole bunch more of these. It didn't even occur to me that people would just be like, no, I'm not going to watch that.
Yeah, because it's Star Wars. Everyone says that, but they don't actually follow through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea of sort of what we're looking at now, which is kind of the worst case scenario, again, that didn't even enter into my calculus,
Yeah, no, not at all. I guess I didn't think too much about it, but I just assumed once we were talking about this, it was just going to be this jubilant, like, that was fun, that kind of conversation.
It's but weird. It's like, it feels a bit like a wake.
Yeah, now I'm like, well, I liked it.
It's kind of a bummer. But why don't we do this? Let's talk about it, because I have a feeling a lot of people are not so much making a choice not to go, but they're holding off for, I mean, think about it. We in the past month we've had Avengers: Infinity War, we've had Deadpool, and they've all made a lot of money, and there's only so much geek dollar to go around.
I agree with that, and I think before we really get into spoilers, I think also, I mean, we had a Star Wars movie less than half a year ago. Yeah, and a divisive one at that. Sure. So it's just sort of I don't know. I mean, spacing these things out might come to benefit them better in the future. And I wonder if that had something to do with it.
I think honestly, what and we talked about this. I said this is going to be spun as a disappointment, no matter how much it makes. Yeah. Now, I didn't expect it would actually be a disappointment. Yeah. but the point I was making was not every movie is going to be The Force Awakens. Not every movie is going to be The Last Jedi, right? If we look at what the three previous ones, Force Awakens obviously had, 30 plus years of pent up anticipation, right? Mm-hmm. Rogue One had the benefit of coming next. Mm-hmm. And then Last Jedi had the benefit of being the sequel to the next saga movie. So there's sort of a unique confluence of events that led to those movies performing like they did. Yeah, 'cause this is the beginning of, like, we're going to look back on this as how things went down. Like, this isn't normal yet. Right. And that's kind of my point, right? Let me put it this way. Right now, every Star Wars movie has been the Avengers in terms of performance, right? Right. But we haven't had an Ant-Man yet. Right. And I went into this going, well, Solo is kind of like the Ant-Man, or it's the Doctor Strange, or it's the little side franchise that the metrics have to be a little different. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the mistake here is I mean, they budgeted it sort of expecting $1 billion movie.
Right.
and that was obviously a mistake.
Right.
But that's the thing. I mean, in a way, this is helpful because it sort of sets the basement a little bit.
Right.
For what to expect from these movies, you know?
Well, and knowing that, I think some people are a little worried about Star Wars exhaustion. I mean, I know I am, honestly, but it's going to happen, as we saw that the Boba Fett movie now has a director.
Yes.
And it like the train there's no stopping this train. So if they're going to do that, then I would hope that's what we would eventually get to, is what you're saying, where we get our Ant-Mans, but we also still have our Avenger films. And I mean, you know, expectations have to be adjusted.
I mean, I think being candid, and certainly with the benefit of hindsight, I think having it open so close to The Last Jedi was a mistake. I think at least a year's worth of anticipation is helpful.
Yep.
And I think people have gotten into the pattern of you know, that annual that December family thing that they experience during the holidays, and then it just plays and plays, you know, for the next few months.
Yep, exactly.
You know.
Yeah, because that's a good point too. Because when they're put out by the holidays, like, it becomes, there's just something heightened about that time of year anyway, and a lot of people have a lot of things going on and whatnot, and this just becomes one of the events. And the past few films have been big events where I've gone with big groups and we get a big dinner beforehand, and this one wasn't that at all.
Wow. So, I mean,
it was very different.
Well, and I mean, just anecdotally, I'm looking at theater owners who have been saying, like, you know, at high traffic times, it's been playing to you know, 2/3 full rooms, you know, 1/3 full rooms. I mean, it's not connecting for whatever reason, and I think it's not even a question of it being a bad movie, because people who are seeing it are liking it, but it's just they weren't motivated to get out to the theater.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I don't think this is going to have surprising legs necessarily, but it will be interesting to see how it plays in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, what's working in its favor, if we're like trying to find some, you know, glass half full scenario, is that Incredibles 2 doesn't open for another 2-3 weeks, I think. 2 weeks, right. I think. So that gives it 2 weeks of playtime, and it's a great family movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. It's. I mean, and all Star Wars movies are, to be honest. But I mean, this is not dark like Rogue One. Certainly, you know, this is a romp. It's a caper,
right?
And tonally, I would say it's the closest the franchise has gotten to the original Star Wars. Yeah.
I more thoughts on that later. I actually had like a big thought that I wrote down regarding that.
Okay,
but yeah.
So I mean, in terms of why it didn't open, I think there's a variety of reasons. I think it's a perfect storm. You've got the people who were burned out by The Last Jedi, who hated it, who enough of those people were like, well, I'm done.
Right.
And then you've got the people who are like, only Harrison Ford can be Han Solo. And then you've got the people who are like, I just blew, you know, $50 watching, you know, Deadpool and Infinity War, or I watched Infinity War like 8 times.
Mm-hmm.
Right, there's a lot of that too.
Yeah, and Black Panther. I mean, if we really want to,
which is still playing.
Yeah, still playing.
You know, it's on home video now, but it's still, people are still watching in the theater. Yeah, so in other words, there's a threshold for the geek movie, volume in the marketplace, and we're just at a point now where Star Wars has become the afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
This feels very similar to me, Brian, to back in 2002 when Attack of the Clones came out at exactly this weekend. But it was like 3 weeks after Spider-Man, which that was the phenomenon. That was the event. And so Attack of the Clones comes out, which did not flop by any stretch. But Attack of the Clones made more than $100 million less than The Phantom Menace.
Wow.
Yeah, because Phantom Menace made something like $420 million. Attack of the Clones made like $300 million.
Wow.
Now, $300 million in 2002 dollars is substantial, right? So there's not a flop.
Sure.
But it tells you something about where it was, that sense of like, oh, it's just another Star Wars.
Yeah.
And now we amplify that by X, you know, percentage, because this is now the 4th Star Wars movie in 4 years.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, as we're talking about this, it's making me think, because what we're saying is like, wow, we're seeing this happen, and we're going to learn from this, and Star Wars is going to keep going, but they're going to, we'll be saturated in Star Wars, but we're learning from the beginnings of this. And I was thinking about like someone finding this podcast like 40 years from now, and like it being the equivalent of us finding some recording where we're like, how many Abbott and Costello films are they going to put out? Like
they'll never stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, failure is an option here. I mean, if nothing else, see, I'm wondering. I mean, there's a perception that there is no plan in place for Star Wars. Because it feels like every other day it's like, oh, and so-and-so's doing a trilogy, and oh, and so-and-so's doing this, and and Jon Favreau's doing that. And there's all this stuff that's announced that we don't know anything about. And I mean, obviously they're trying to emulate the Marvel Studios model.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, let's take a step back here and give some appreciation for how sturdy a model the Marvel people have built.
Oh man, yeah.
I mean, the fact that we can now see like, man, Star Wars, they're trying to be like Marvel, like,
yeah.
That's just. It feels like a weird thing to say,
Yeah, and that all these films later, they're only getting stronger and breaking new ground.
Yeah.
Still, yeah, it's crazy.
So I want to talk about where we think things go from here, but maybe let's save that for the flip side of just giving our reactions to the movie itself.
Yeah.
So we've look, folks, if you've listened up to now, we both really liked it.
Yeah.
So that's our non-spoiler reaction. Do you want to just do spoilers from here, Brian?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Spoiler.
So Brian, why don't you give your take and I'll kind of chime in.
Well, I think, I mean, obviously we're going to get more spoilers. This seems sort of general, but I think what was interesting about the movie, like you said, this felt the closest to the originals. And I mean, we should mention that this was written by Lawrence Kasdan, right? Who wrote Empire Strikes Back, co-wrote Return of the Jedi, and co-wrote Force Awakens.
Yep.
And then and also it's worth mentioning, wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark and co-wrote this with his son. Is it John Kasdan?
John Kasdan, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think there is something inherently old school about it. And it's something that I spoke with a friend of mine who didn't like that, but for me, I did. Like, this reminded me... I'm sorry?
No, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah. Man, I gotta say, Spectrum, dude, hearing you in real time is just, like, the bee's knees. But it felt like old school, like a Western. Like, there was, like, Western elements, like double crosses and surprises and whatnot, but they weren't like super dark. Like, they did feel familiar, but at the same time, for me personally, and I know some people felt differently, but for me personally, they felt fresh because there was the Star Wars application over it.
Yes.
So you have a train robbery in this movie, but it's a space train robbery.
But it's a Star Wars train robbery.
Yeah, so you have people...
We have a petting zoo, but it's a Star Wars petting zoo. Is it a Star Wars petting zoo? Anyway, sorry.
Right. But you got people with blasters and hover bikes speeding around this train, zipping around them. Like, and on top of that, it's Han and Chewie, like, doing all this stuff. So yeah. I am just almost guaranteed to be taken with this. And I appreciate the people, especially after a movie like The Last Jedi, which tried to be challenging and that worked for a lot of people and it didn't work for some other people. And I appreciate both sides of that. But this movie, I didn't feel like was seeking to be challenging, and I don't look at that as a negative. Like, I know some people are looking at that as a negative. I'm like, well, that's what this is. Like, this is, right, as we said, this is a romp. And
it's the Ant-Man.
Yeah. It's lower stakes, and also, of course, we know Han's gonna live, and we know Chewie's gonna live. But like, I was absolutely delighted with their introduction. The way that they meet each other, and it's like Han's getting fed to the beast, and it turns out that beast is Chewbacca, and he speaks Wookiee, and they become best pals for life. And throughout the whole, for a character that doesn't even speak, as much as we of course love Chewbacca, but he had all these moments where he was, he could have left Han and gone and with his people on another adventure in the middle of the film, but he looks at Han and I got to go with it, with my new buddy. And he runs back over to Han. And both times I watched it, I really loved that. And then at the end, too, when Han has his moment and is let down a little bit, when Chewie stands there and puts his hand on his shoulder, like, I really felt something.
Yeah, so, you're like, this is a lifelong friendship.
Yeah, that all worked for me. So, and I don't want to jump ahead to the end, but I have thoughts that tie into this with the end. So I'll let you go ahead, but...
Yeah, honestly, maybe I'm just like an easy lay when it comes to Star Wars. I was thinking about that too, but I was like, well, I was pretty critical of the prequels, so I try to figure out what my reactions are, because I'm just like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is a brand new adventure in this universe that I love.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of filling in these gaps that I didn't know about and making it a richer place, because to me, we've spent so much time sort of toiling in the Empire versus the Rebellion or versions thereof, right? Even and Rogue One, the big innovation of Rogue One, it was still an Empire versus Rebellion story, but we're like, no Jedi,
Mm-hmm.
And here it's a Star Wars story, but there's no Empire, there's no Rebellion, there's no Jedi, not really anyway,
Right.
And so it's kind of like, what elements do you need to still be considered a Star Wars story?
Mm-hmm.
And this is very much like, there's no doubt that this feels Star Wars.
Yeah.
It feels of a piece with everything we've seen before, and yet it feels distinctly different. And that's what I appreciated about it. And honestly, it never would have occurred to me that we'd have an opportunity to see more adventures with these characters on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously you turn Han Solo into shish kebab, you throw him into the heart of an exploding planet. That's pretty definitive.
Right.
I joke about that, where like when Han Solo got the script, when Harrison Ford got the script for The Force Awakens. Although no, actually, because initially the plan wasn't to kill him, but they decided during the process to kill. But he's you picture the phone call between him and J.J. Abrams. He's like, so I get stabbed through the heart, and then I fall into the reactor, and then the planet blows up. Like, he's like making sure.
Yeah, right.
There's no, I don't fall into a time machine. I don't.
Yeah, right.
And so you can tell, like Harrison Ford was done and undone, and that's fine. Obviously, again, Harrison Ford is an older guy, so if nothing else, you say, well, time is working against Harrison Ford playing this role further into the future. So I never had the issue with recasting Han Solo, doing a younger version of Han Solo. I never had that problem, and it always baffled me how dug in people were about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was just like, you're acting like this has never been done.
Right.
And I'm like, well, the character, if there's an opportunity for the character to be brought back and to get new adventures, how is that a bad thing? And remember what I said to you, Brian. I'm like, if Lawrence Kasdan says there's a story to tell here, I want to hear it.
Yeah, and I will say, though, that I understand people that had those hesitations for sure, because this is the first time. Like, I mean, you being a huge James Bond fan, you've seen different James Bonds, and it's something you understand now, right? You can feel comfortable with it because it's happened several times. It will continue to happen. And I understand this being the first time someone other than Harrison Ford has played Han Solo. Of course, there's like some, reticence or hesitation or whatever. And I think so for you and I, that was sort of the thing going in. Because we said during the trailers, we're like, Alden Ehrenreich, like, I don't know, like, maybe. Like, he looks good, but I wasn't convinced with the voice and whatnot. And for me, I mean, it was almost immediate. I was like, okay. Like, I just kind of followed this guy, and by the end, I think I nudged you in the theater. There's a part at the end when he does the right thing, and these people thank him, and he doesn't even say thank you or goodbye. He just kind of like smiles and waves his hand.
Right.
And I was like, that's Han.
That's a Han thing, yeah.
Yeah, like that. I don't know. He became Han for me.
Well, and I guess the point I'm making is, it's going to happen anyway, right? So.
Yes.
I guess, Brian, I think I went through this back in like 09 or 08 or whenever this new Star Trek was ramping up. Mm-hmm. Because that was a bridge I had to cross where I was like, how dare you think anybody but William Shatner could be Captain Kirk?
Right.
And of course, they did a good job with that. So I think from there, I was like, well, they're going to do what they're going to do. These studios and their properties, they're looking at it in a coldly clinical way. Where can we make more money off this IP? So I get that. So I'm, this is like the Brian Hall approach, where I'm like, well, I want the best version.
Right.
I want to root for them to succeed because I'd rather them not do a terrible movie that sucks.
Right.
And so that was my philosophy with this whole thing. It's like, well, they're doing it anyway, so I want the best version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And in that sense, I think Alden Ehrenreich was terrific. I liked the subtleties he brought into his performance. Where again, he's got the mannerisms and he's got like a way of speaking that evokes Han.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to mistake him for Harrison Ford.
No.
No. Which I remember back when he was first cast, people were like, "Oh, it should be that guy, that whatever his name is, who does the."
Right,
like the
really
imitation.
good Harrison Ford impersonation.
A pretty darn good Harrison Ford. Anthony Gruber, that's his name. In fact, he played young Harrison Ford in that Blake Lively movie.
Yes, which I just this past week looked up on YouTube and it's pretty uncanny.
the way, and people were like, "Oh, it should have been him," and I'm like, "Well, maybe I don't know. I don't know how good he would have done, but I almost would have been more jarred by that.
Yeah.
By like a dude doing a Harrison Ford impression,
Yeah, agreed.
And that's like people are like, oh, they should have like de-aged Harrison Ford and done like a Michael Douglas and Ant-Man type thing. I'm like, that would have been jarring too. Can you imagine watching that for 2 hours?
That's insanity,
right? I mean, you'd be looking for the seams the whole time.
Yeah, but that's just there's no way. I mean, as far as that technology has come, it's still like looking at like something that's like 1% wrong.
Yes,
you know what I mean. You're just like,
Yeah, I mean, if we were to look at like Peter Cushing's being brought back to life in Rogue One as like the upper limit of that technology.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that was good, but it wasn't perfect.
Yeah, well, that was, I mean, remember, people were convinced he was a real guy. I mean, you and I'm sure, knew immediately because we know Peter Cushing's face so well from watching Star Wars 100 times. But,
yes.
Yeah.
But that was fairly divisive because you had some people who had no idea and then other people who were like, it looks creepy. So, I mean, we still haven't crossed that uncanny valley completely.
No.
Right.
No.
So, I mean, to that end, I think Alden Ehrenreich did fine. I think the new Chewbacca, Jonas Suotamo, I think is his name.
Mm-hmm.
He's great. I mean, he's sort of figured out the little things that Peter Mayhew used to do.
Yeah.
To play the character, It's weird because on the one hand you're like, well, how hard can it be? You just get a tall guy and put a Chewbacca suit on him, but there's actually, it's funny because I think about this all the time, but I was thinking about this yesterday when I was rewatching the movie. I'm like, I don't look at Chewbacca as a guy in a suit. I was thinking about that. I was like,
yeah,
Chewbacca is a person like that. No, that's Chewbacca.
It's crazy, but no, I'm the same. I'm the exact same way. Actually, I've mentioned this, but a friend that I work with has never seen Star Wars, so we've been slowly showing her the trilogy, and she just watched Jedi, and she really enjoyed it. But she said as much as she loved the Ewoks, they did feel like people in suits. And I was like, yeah, fair. But with that in mind, I never think about like Chewbacca's arms or Chewbacca's arms.
Right, exactly.
It's not like some elaborate coat or hoodie some guy's wearing.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It was funny actually because yesterday in the theater when I was watching it, so I went with the boys, and it was a 9 a.m. show, and it was actually a decent sized crowd, which did surprise me for being that early. I didn't know that the movie was like a catastrophe box office wise. So in hindsight, I'm even more surprised how full it was. But mostly families. And there's early on when Han and Chewie are first talking, like it's after they've been rescued, and Han's like, "What's your name?" Chewbacca. I'm not calling you that. I'm giving you a nickname. And this little kid's like, Chewie. And I was like, that's what this is. That's what Star Wars should be.
Yeah.
It's this universe that you can just sort of wrap yourself in like a comforter.
Yeah, and that reminds me. Okay, so I was going to get to this later, but I think it applies now. And I do want to talk a little bit more about the details of the film also. But I was realizing sort of the conundrum with these movies, and I'm going to try to make this make sense. But when Star Wars came out, the original trilogy, like those are innocent movies, right? Good is good, bad is bad. Lucas, always claims they were made for kids, and I think it makes sense, even though there's, stakes and whatnot. But yeah, they're innocent films, and we were all, for the most part, introduced to them as kids ourselves, right? So then we grow up, we go to college, we watch Fight Club and Reservoir Dogs, and we like anti-heroes now and whatnot, and then Star Wars comes back, and some people want it to be exactly the thing they remember from when they were kids, but then there are other people now who have different, approaches to what a good story is. And so Star Wars has this weird conflict now where it has to still sort of be itself, which is inherently fairly innocent, but at the same time, it does have to evolve. It can't just keep doing the same thing over and over. And audiences, I think, are somewhat split. And I've noticed this in people's reactions to Solos. Like, personally, people who've told me, like, people who like movies that feature more complicated characters and anti-heroes didn't like Solo, and people that wanted to just relive Star Wars again, and not in a negative way, like a derivative way, but they just love what they love about it. They seem to love it. So I feel like if you're Kathleen Kennedy and you're Disney and you're making these Star Wars films, I think that's a conundrum. Like I don't know exactly. I don't know, because Star Wars is supposed to literally appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
And I think it's facing an audience that has changed, and times that have changed, even in movies, and the way that movies and stories play out now that have changed. And that's a hard thing. And this might be the hard lesson then that they have to think about. But also, like you were saying, just because we're at the beginning, it's hard to look too far ahead, but maybe this is where we're going to go, where once we have the benefit of more movies, we can see like, oh, well, these movies fall in this camp. These are sort of the more fun. Because you were saying, like, this movie to me reminds me of the more innocent earlier films.
Yeah.
Or even the movies we sort of grew up, those, like, I talk about this a lot, but like those PG 80s films that we love, like, whatever, like Indiana Jones and Star Wars.
Yeah,
and whatnot.
no,
And this falls into, like, it doesn't try to be.
It's a throwback.
It's a throwback. It's a throwback. And for me, knowing that and approaching it that way, that's why it worked for me. And I can understand people that wanted another, like, Last Jedi, where it's super challenging and, whatnot. It's just not that movie. Yeah, but I mean, from what we've seen with the reaction to The Last Jedi, I mean, people don't. I mean, I don't know what we can extrapolate from the reaction of The Last Jedi to the reaction to this movie, because it seems like people who liked The Last Jedi liked this, and people who hated The Last Jedi but saw this liked this too. It's kind of funny, actually, because I was going to say, in my experience, the people that didn't like Last Jedi have been enjoying this, and my friends who did like Last Jedi have not been liking this.
The people who did like it.
The people who did like it are tending to not like Solo as much.
Really?
Yeah, in my experience. That's
what about me, Brian? What about
me? No, I know.
That's
actually, I was going to bring that up earlier, and I didn't, because I was like, oh, well, that's actually not true with Zaki. But now that you brought it up, I was like, well, I got to, I'll mention these conversations I've had.
I adore The Last Jedi. I like The Last Jedi more than you.
Yeah.
And yet here we are.
See, we can all come together, folks.
Yes.
No, but okay. So we should get more into like the actual nitty gritty of the story and whatnot and things we liked. And yeah, I'll kick it off real quick by saying that when the movie starts, because now we're in spoiler territory, when the movie starts and we see Kira and Han, Kira played by Emilia Clarke, yeah, they have like a little bit of like sort of corny, like,
friend of the show, Emilia Clarke. Together.
What's that?
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, yes. But the whole moment where they escape and they get separated, and then he's like pounding on the window, I'll come back for you.
It was great.
That worked for me.
Great performance.
Yeah. And so I think for me, that's when I knew, I was like, oh, okay, I'm in this. Like, yeah. I was feeling what they were feeling, and it wasn't just like, okay, yeah, then they get separated. No, I really did. And I wanted him to get back. And when he was in the Empire, fighting for the Empire for a while, I was like, man, Brian, you gotta go get her. You gotta, like, I really was tracking that whole through line with his love for her.
His wanting to keep like the promise he made to himself, really.
Yeah, and even when they were reunited, I wasn't so sure if I could trust her. And then they have the moment in Lando's cape room, which is great. And when they kissed, that was the first moment I was like, oh, okay, like I believe her. And then anyway, all the way through the end, I think a lot of us assumed that this movie was going to end with Kira dying.
Yes.
A la Bond, where it's like he starts as one way, and then he loses like something that he truly loved, and then he becomes cynical, hard-ass, whatever. And I'm so glad they didn't do that.
Yes.
And they still got to do something similar where at the end, for her own complicated reasons, it just would have been too easy to kill her and almost unfair. And like, I love that she has her own complicated thing going on that it seemed like we would have revisited, or we may, I don't know.
We may,
but like, but he still loses her. But there's still, I'm not convinced he's over her yet. I hope they get reunited. So at the end, he isn't like full on cynical yet. He's just heartbroken.
Yeah.
And so it does, and that is directly after that when Chewbacca puts his paw on his shoulder, and then when he goes over to the Marauders or whatever and gives them the thing, like he's a little less cheery than he was earlier in the movie. He's becoming Han. He's not quite Han yet,
right?
And I appreciated that.
So we're talking about the beginning part of the film, and first of all, I want to mention how we have like a commercial to join the Empire, and they even play the Imperial March in major key.
Right.
Which has been, of course, part of our show's vocabulary for years at this point. Right. I love that. Yeah. But some people did not like this. I actually really did like that his name is like he gets it like Ellis Island style. Right. People, I saw this complaint online. People are like, oh, it's dumb that the Empire gives him his name. I'm like, I think that's awesome.
I actually was kind of indifferent. I was like, yeah, sure. All right.
I was like, I think that's cool because to me, it's this idea of a persona that's created layer by layer.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of, this is like such a weird callback, but when I was a kid, I had the Return of the Jedi storybook, and I used to read the crap out of that. And in that storybook, it's after they depart from Tatooine, the Act 1 action sequence. So they all depart, and it's like Luke's internal monologue, and it's like Luke remembered when he first heard Han's name, Solo, and he wondered if that was a name that he gave himself. And it was because it represented who he used to be, but now Han had a family, and it didn't. Anyway, my point is that was always in the back of my mind. Is that an alias that he came up with?
Oh, that's funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean that's like a total random thing, but that's what it reminded me of.
Well, what did you think of Lando?
Well,
Glover.
I remember at the moment he's introduced where we hear his voice first.
Yep.
And that was where, and he said, I forget exactly what he says, but he's doing a pitch perfect Billy D. Williams.
Yep.
And I remember just leaning over to be like, he sounds just like him.
Yeah.
and then yesterday morning I watched it with Pervez, actually, who I host Diffuse Congruence with, and he leans over to me, he sounds just like him.
Really?
It was very funny. Yeah. But what I thought was really clever on Donald Glover's part is he's not doing that the whole movie.
Yep.
So it starts as this very pronounced Billy D. Williams impression, but then he sort of folds it into a Donald Glover performance.
Mm-hmm.
Until by the end, it's it's Donald Glover's Lando.
Right. And
I thought that was very smart. This is one of those things where it's exactly what I expected, because as soon as you hear Donald Glover has been cast as Lando, you have a picture in your mind of what that's going to look like, and you're like, when you hear it, you're like, oh, it's perfect, and then you see it, and you're like, yeah, that's what I saw. So good deal,
Yeah.
I wanted more of Lando, to be honest. That if there's a debit, it's that. I especially on the second viewing, I felt like they don't give him enough to do. I mean, what they do give him to do works. I think it's effective.
Mm-hmm.
There is that moment when he's holding like the corpse of his robot L3, and he's like L3, and you can see how like that could be very ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't think it was. I think both times it worked for what they were trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually liked how when he sees her getting shot, how he kind of jumps out there and he's
Yep.
really. I'm like, well, Billy D. Williams could not do that right now. You know, like
Right.
that's why we're doing these younger stories. Is my point, you know?
Yeah. I liked how they addressed the Han thing.
Oh, that was great.
That was great. Calls him Han.
Yeah,
Sounds like a ton.
and you know what, Brian? I mean that there, and then the thing with the like, well, a parsec is a unit of distance, not time. You know, that's been like
Right.
the thing forever, and how this movie explains that. That's the other thing that I realized watching this. I was like, this is a Star Wars novel.
Yeah.
Right? It's a Star Wars novel that you're watching. But that's exactly what, like, I don't read the books, but that's kind of what the books do. It's like, oh, remember when Jabba said this? It was actually a reference to this. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess. I didn't need to know that, but that's cool. You know?
Yeah.
That's this movie. Like, I didn't need to know that, but that's cool.
Yeah, but I had a great time.
Yeah. You
Great
know?
time with it. Yeah.
But Woody Harrelson I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
So good old dependable Woody Harrelson.
You know, someone said something about Woody Harrelson the other day, and I put dependable Woody Harrelson. That's why we're
Right.
do a show. But yeah, he is. He just because when he was cast, it was like but he's so Woody Harrelson.
He's so
Will that
Woody
be
Harrelson.
distracting? But like, no, he's great.
He's great as sort of like the proto Han.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. Like, you know, it dropping all these seeds of what will eventually come to define Han's view of the world, which I loved. And it's funny because I didn't even notice it the first time because I wasn't paying attention. But I love how he takes apart this elaborate sniper rifle, and at the heart of it is, you know, the Mauser that is Han's blaster.
Right.
And I remember he hands it over to Han, and I'm watching. I'm like, "That's the blaster.
Right.
He's gonna be like, Chewie, get us out of here!" And he's gonna like shoot Darth Vader. Like that's the thing, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I'm just a geek when it comes to this stuff. I love this stuff, you know?
That's what it is. Maybe I still have. I do. I still have like a childlike love for this stuff, and so if it's not doing anything particularly offensive, it's like, how can I not love it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I that's where I'm coming at with this. So I don't know. But what was I going to say again about him? But I mean, we have to say Han shot first.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
Doesn't that feel like Lawrence Cast to me? Like, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, right.
You know, I wonder, like George Lucas watching the movie for the first time, you know,
Yeah.
and he just sees that and he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, it's your film, Ron.
Hey, let's talk about Ron Howard, by the way.
Yeah, you know, when you were talking about Han, I was going to say Han now because I'm thinking of that. But Han blasting his way after that whole slave revolt thing on the spice mines of Kessel.
Yes.
This is so ridiculous and awesome. There's this, because Ron Howard, they talk about being like a journeyman director, and he's just similar to Woody Harrelson. He's just dependable. He's not going to add some flares that you go, that's so Ron Howard, but like he's going to do something solid. And one of my favorite shots in the film was during that firefight, and Han's shooting, and then the camera follows him all the way up the ramp and into the ship.
Yes.
Do you remember that shot? That's
I do.
A great shot.
I
thought that was really cool.
I noted that yesterday, actually.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, what was your take on Ron Howard's?
Well, I think it was a smart play to bring somebody like him in because he did exactly what was required, which was to make a Star Wars movie that tonally fits in with you know the films as they exist up to this point. And unfortunately, in hindsight, this will be the albatross around this movie's neck, which was, maybe if they hadn't fired Lord and Miller, the movie would have done better, whatever. I don't know. I don't know that the movie that they were making, I don't know that we would have enjoyed it in the same way.
It would have been very different. And I also was thinking that's a little bit, not unfair, but I know everyone wanted to see a Lord and Miller Star Wars movie, but the fact was they couldn't do it. That's why this happened. Like, they were going way over budget. They weren't, like, they couldn't deliver it. Like, if they had infinite money and if they had infinite time,
yeah,
we would have gotten one, but that's why they were ultimately let go. And it's not a ding against them. Like, they don't make huge sci-fi spectacles. You know what I mean? Like, they make these fun comedies and we like all their movies. So it's like, yeah, I was very curious to see what they would have done, but it's not that Kathleen Kennedy wanted to see a Lord and Miller Han Solo movie.
Right.
But they just weren't able to deliver it. And so they had to do what they had to do, and that's how we ended up here,
And I made the Ant-Man comparison before. I mean, even more directly, Ant-Man had a similar creative shuffle.
Right.
That happened before filming started, but it was developed by Edgar Wright, and then Peyton Reed came in, and that ended up being sort of a happy ending for that movie. It's weird to me because this is not a Frankenstein movie. It's not Justice League.
Right.
Which would have been the expectation. This feels very much a Ron Howard movie. I mean, I don't know what is whose or what, if anything, of Lord and Miller made it into the movie, but what I read is that Ron Howard reshot something like 70%.
Yeah, and I think also something important to remember is like the script, for all we know, didn't really change.
Yeah, the issue was that they weren't shooting the script.
Yeah.
They were riffing.
And they would, do excessive amounts of takes, riffing, and then we're going to find the movie in the edit later, and then that also was creating even more expenses with sets. I remember one thing I read was that once Ron Howard came on, they built a set in half the space that they had, just because he's a pro.
Like he knows. What I was reading is that he it takes 2 takes, and then he knows if he's got it or not.
Right.
And then move on. And if you read the interviews with the cast, I mean, they're being diplomatic, but the general sense you have from the cast members is we were really relieved when Ron Howard came on.
Right.
But
I think it's important, again, to say, this isn't we like Lord and Miller, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
It's not an issue of liking or disliking them, but I do feel like their tonal sensibilities were just a mismatch.
Right.
To this. I mean, we'll never know. That's like the great unanswered question, right? But I have to imagine that movie would have turned off people for entirely different reasons,
Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, there's a Variety article. I want to say it's Variety or Hollywood Reporter, one of these things. It was on Twitter. Why isn't Star Wars taking any risks? They had the gall to have that headline less than 6 months after The Last Jedi was accused of taking too many risks.
Right.
So this is the you picture the thing where they're deciding about how to fix Itchy and Scratchy.
Right.
And Roger Myers is behind the glass saying, "You kids you don't know what you're doing," or whatever.
Yep. You don't know what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the conundrum I speak of. I don't know how you can't make one thing that everybody loves.
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
Real quick. I mean, I don't envy Kathleen Kennedy.
No.
Because she's in just a shitty situation. Because honestly, it's not just. First of all, I said this way back in the day when the sale first happened. I was like, "There's going to come a day where people are going to be like, oh, well, Star Wars sucks now. It's not like it was when George Lucas did it," which is exactly where we're in now.
Right.
It's like we've forgotten everything about what frustrations people had with him. But on top of that, honestly, the fact that Kathleen Kennedy is a woman has made her subject to this entirely different level of criticism.
Yeah,
that's just horrible and monstrous, and it really is bringing out the abject shittiness of a lot of people.
Yeah. I was gonna say different voices.
Yes,
saying stupider things.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know, man. This is not the episode we were expecting to have.
This is like doing a political podcast the morning of November 10th or whatever 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I guess Trump got elected, and okay.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, no. I mean, I hope that people listening to this will who've been on the fence, who are not just shitty people, and I'm assuming most of our audience is not shitty people. I would assume, but who are just holding off for whatever reason, for money reasons or Star Wars fatigue or whatever, and they will give it a shot.
Yeah, go in with proper expectations.
It's not going to reorder your world.
Yeah.
Nor should you expect it to. It's a romp. It's a caper. It's a Star Wars caper that I think it's a good way to spend an afternoon. And it's a great family movie.
Yeah, yeah, light, fun, and satisfying.
Oh,
is,
by the
like,
way,
what I would say.
Brian, we totally buried Darth Maul's cameo.
Oh yeah. Actually, I was looking at a lot of people. Like Jon Favreau's in this movie. Paul Bettany's great. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is L3.
Yeah, it was funny too because I had forgotten that Favreau was in this, and so I'm listening to, and his name is Rio, right?
Yeah.
I'm listening. I'm like, who is that? Like, he sounds so familiar, you know? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like it took me a second, and I just love that they threw that in there. I feel like that whole first, and Tandy Newton, by the way, as Val, it's like a red herring because you kind of expect that. Oh, okay, so this is going to be like Han's gang,
Yep.
and basically everyone just gets wiped out.
Yep.
And by the way, they get wiped out, and I didn't notice it so much the first time, but the second time, you have Beckett. Woody Harrelson's character mourning over graves for them, and it's just like a little thing that to me added texture to his character.
Yeah, that was his gang. Those were
Yeah.
his best friends. That was his franchise
That right, exactly.
that we didn't get to watch.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and Paul Bettany, by the way, who replaced Michael Kenneth Williams. So the character was originally meant to be like a motion capture kind of thing. And I think they realized, like, oh wait, we don't have time or money to do that.
Yeah, that must have been it. And I who knows what the real things were, but I also read that he couldn't come back for that extended amount of time.
Yeah, because obviously the reshoots extended far into the future. Oh, and by the way, Tandy Newton said that she barely saw Ron Howard.
Oh, interesting.
So I guess we can make some assumptions then about maybe the heist portion, which makes sense actually because that's more technical.
Yeah, and then also, that was the whole war stuff too when they first get introduced, right?
That too, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I did wonder what the 30%
Yeah,
was. That was
I would
them.
assume it's not so much entire sequences, but like portions of sequences that got
Yeah.
left in. But no, Paul Bettany was on a talk show, maybe Colbert show, where he was like, he just texted Ron Howard and he was like, "Hey, is there a role for me?" And like, sure. And they gave him Dryden Voss because they've worked together. They worked together on
Lots of crap.
a couple things, right? Yeah, I mean,
Beautiful Mind and
Da Vinci Code.
Da Vinci Code. Yeah.
But yeah, Darth Maul.
Darth Maul. That was a surprise.
To me, that's the coolest kind of surprise where you have no idea it's coming. And it's one of those things. I'll tell you why I liked it, because this and Rogue One have solidified the role of the animated shows as part of the canon.
Right. So for me, who hasn't really watched them, even though you've recommended them to me, I'm aware of this because of you, but I think a lot of people, I've had people ask me like, wait, I thought he was chopped in half.
Yeah.
So it's surprising for sure.
Yeah, it's so essentially when we see Darth Maul in this, he's been alive again since the Clone Wars cartoon. So hopefully, like, people who are curious from this will check out the Clone Wars show, which is on Netflix, and you see how he comes back. He initially comes back to life with these weird like spider legs, but eventually he gets like a cybernetic bottom half, which is what we see in this movie. So I don't know where exactly in his chronology this sits, but by the time we get to Rebels, he's actually had several rematches with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he has like his final battle with Obi-Wan near the tail end of Rebels. But I just love that they threw it in there without explanation. That's what I liked. I'm like, it's there.
Yeah, and
Seek it
then
out.
I mean, Kenobi movie is like official, right? So if you're saying that they tangle,
Yeah, maybe we
in
get
the-
that
in
from
the
like
canon,
a different
I mean,
perspective.
yeah, who knows?
It's funny. I saw an article. I don't know what it was. Maybe IndieWire, where it's like, like Obi-Wan Kenobi movie will be a prequel to Star Wars, like headline. And I'm like, no shit, really?
Right.
Isn't that what else could it be? Is it going to be a sequel to Return of the Jedi?
That's pretty funny.
You know what I mean? But anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah. Well, I guess the question is, where do we go from here?
For this specifically, like, will there be a Solo 2?
I think we can assume that there will not be a solo duo.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Solo do.
Yeah. Part 2.
Yeah, and that's a bummer. You know, like I think I mentioned a long time ago when we saw The Nice Guys, that Shane Black movie with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. I was having so much fun in the third act. It made me sad I wasn't going to get to see them do more together.
Right, because
Like,
the
I
movie was
enjoyed
already
that.
flopping opening weekend.
Yeah, like we knew this wasn't going to be the next Lethal Weapon or anything, and I was like, that's a bummer. And so now, I didn't realize it when we were watching it, but now this weekend I'm like, I really want to see more Han and Chewie adventures.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah.
That is a bummer. What do you think this means for the stakes for the next Star Wars movie, which is, of course, Episode 9?
Well, that I think is that's already guaranteed.
You think so?
Yeah, well, because I think, I think this movie, like we've already said, like I think it suffered from the fact that a Star Wars movie had just recently come out. Like, we need to refill the tank a little bit of anticipation. And also, there was a lot of negativity already being lobbied at it for the whole director switch, for replacing an actor that is beloved. You know, there's just a lot working against this movie. And with that one, I think that's the conclusion to a story that seems to be going pretty well. You know, at least, I mean, in terms of money.
But again, we have to factor in the Last Jedi negativity.
True, but JJ's back.
Okay.
You know?
So J.J. Abrams, man, I remember before The Force Awakens came out, I was like, man, I don't envy J.J. Abrams. This is before Force Awakens. Now it's like even more.
Yeah. No, to wrap this whole thing up for sure. And like to make the people who prefer Force Awakens happy, the people who prefer Last Jedi happy, like, yeah, it's
But
unenviable.
here's the problem, okay? What people who hated The Last Jedi, what they want is for scene 1 of Episode 9 to be like Rey saying, "I have to go now. My planet needs me," and she gets lifted out the frame. As Luke Skywalker walks back in, and he's like, "Hey, I didn't die. I just transported like down the street, but I'm here now." You know, like that's what people want.
Oh, that's interesting. You think people don't like Rey?
I think some people don't like Rey.
Yeah, well, those people are dumb.
Yeah. I mean, there's this.
To me, Rey's the best part of any of the new stuff.
Oh, she's great. She's terrific.
Yeah.
No, you've got a very active coterie of people who call the recent Star Wars films SJW Star Wars.
Wow.
SJW as in social justice warrior, which is a pejorative term used by people who don't like when women and people of color are present, apparently. You know?
Yeah.
So that's a whole separate conversation. So I think there is that factor, right? In fact, I mean, look, this is not new. When The Force Awakens came out, you had the whole Rey as a Mary Sue thing. You know?
Right.
Max
I
Landis.
find myself more and more these days. I see the headlines and I'm like, ugh. I just don't look. I don't need to.
Not today, Satan.
Not exactly.
You know? Yeah. No. Remember, Max Landis was on Twitter being a friggin' douchebag about that. Which, I mean, that applies for anything. Max Landis.
right.
Remember X topic? Max Landis was being a douchebag about. Anyway, so there's that portion of people. My question is, because again, up until this weekend, I assumed, well, you can bitch and moan all you want, but you'll be there. Come on.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's going to be the thing, and they just need to figure out what to expect and what to do with these in-betweener films.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it feels to me like Star Wars just became Star Trek. And what I mean by that is that there was an assumption that Paramount had where it was like, hey, if we put Star Trek in the title, the fans will always show up.
Right.
And then, Star Trek V came out in the summer of '89, and that was in between the second and third season of The Next Generation. And, people were getting Star Trek on TV on a weekly basis for the first time in like 20 years. And then suddenly people didn't turn up for the movie. And then again in 2002 when Star Trek Nemesis came out, which is the last Next Generation movie, it not only flopped. I mean, it opened second to like a Jennifer Lopez rom-com, the most ignominious end possible.
Right.
And then like a week later, Lord of the Rings 2 came out and it just got demolished. And why? Because there was just too much content in the marketplace. And even the fans, even diehard fans are like, well, I'll just watch it later. I'll watch it eventually.
Right.
And I think that's what Star Wars has become. It hasn't necessarily become, well, I'm anti social justice or whatever, like all that stupid stuff. I think it's just I'll get to it.
Yeah.
I'll get to it.
Yeah.
You know, my brother-in-law Omar, who listens to the show, he just told me the other day. I mean, he is as big a Star Wars fan as it's possible to be, and he told me, he's like, this is the first time I'm not watching a Star Wars movie opening night, and he's like, I'm just busy. I'll get to it. You know, like I want to see it, but I don't have time right now.
Yeah, and yeah, like this isn't going to necessarily be the thing that everybody for certain saw this weekend and will talk about around the water cooler.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think what did surprise me about the box office, and this is what I was looking for, was would it start to recover over the weekend? And in fact, instead, what we saw was a drop every day in terms of what the estimate was.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not a good thing. I have a bad feeling about it.
It's interesting too because we have 2 new trilogies coming.
Yes.
Right? We have the Rian Johnson trilogy and the Game of Thrones guy's trilogy.
So I got to ask about that, Brian.
Yeah.
Does Rian Johnson's trilogy just quietly disappear into the night?
I don't know. I don't know, but I also wonder, you put out episode 1 of those trilogies and they don't perform, you know, like, because the Skywalker thing, I mean, these, 1 through 9 is like a Skywalker thing, right? And so once you start something completely new, what if episode 1 does solo numbers? Like, what do you do if you're Disney? You know, do you go all in? Do you, I don't know. It's going to be really interesting as this expands.
Wow. Well, here we are. We're pilgrims in an unholy land. It's an unholy land where Star Wars is no longer a sure thing.
Yeah.
That's where we're at right now. So I suppose this is a story that will continue. I mean, I would expect the next time that we record, we'll have more to say, if anything, about the fallout from this. Because my God, the think pieces that are going to be dropping left, right, and center tomorrow morning.
I won't click on one of them. But I will tell you what I will click on. Once there's some sort of actual analysis over what happened over the weekend and not someone's just opinions on it.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things, sometimes I sort of roll my eyes at this, like, instant click journalism sort of stuff. But, like, it is kind of interesting, especially with this whole director switch thing. We were wondering, will we ever know the story of what went down? And then 6 hours later, like, oh, that's what went down. Like, right. We do find out things quite quickly these days. So it's always kind of fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Disney is not in panic mode over this, but they can't be thrilled about it either.
Oh yeah.
So that's a story that we will have to pick up in our next episode, I suppose.
Yeah. So
those are our thoughts on Solo. Is there anything that we neglected to mention, Brian? You want to bring up?
No. Actually, this is kind of fun chatting this out with you.
Yeah. We're talking ourselves off the ledge a little bit here.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I am bummed that it didn't do better, because it is a good movie. That's ultimately what it comes down to. I'm bummed that enough people weren't moved to sample what turned out to be just a genuinely pleasant experience.
Yeah, I agree with that. And coupled with that, it bums me out that this movie's always going to have a mark on it.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think it necessarily deserves.
I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also wonder if I had this thought, like, what is this going to do to Alden Ehrenreich's career?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right? Because I mean, that's an unfortunate mark to have on your, like, an asterisk next to your name, like you're the guy who anchored the first, like,
Star Wars flop.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was funny, we were joking as we left the theater. I was saying, well, when they make the new Indiana Jones movie, you got to imagine Alden Ehrenreich's like,
Yeah, maybe not so much now.
What's that?
Maybe not so much now, right?
Well, yeah, that, and then my brother was like, yeah, and then, once they remake Regarding Henry, he'll be like,
Of course, yeah. He'll be the next Jack Ryan,
Right.
After Krasinski. But yeah, so that's where we're at with Solo, a Star Wars story. The box office turned out to be so low. Thanks, everybody.
You know what? I bet some people just groaned right now. I'm going to go bravo.
Thank you. I just came up with that. I'm very proud of that, I have to say.
That's funny.
But as we wrap things up, Brian, anything you want to let the audience know about as far as what's happening in your life?
Well, I've just, been really busy lately, trying to get some clothes over to Goodwill. Oh, you mean like what I'm up to, where they can catch other? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I write for a show called Puppy Dog Pals, which is on Disney and Disney Junior. And if you enjoy dogs going on adventures, it's for people of all ages and people who love puppies. So I say check it out, and I think you'll enjoy it.
There you go. And as for me, you can find me at my website, Zaki'sCorner.com. That's ZAKIS Corner. That's also my Twitter. That's also my Instagram. Also, check out the latest episode of the Nostalgia Theater podcast featuring my interview with Fief Sutton, who is a writer and executive producer of Cheers, as we mark 25 years since the finale of that series. I'm pretty happy with how that episode turned out, so I hope you will check it out. Speaking of Woody Harrelson, there's a connection.
Yeah, and it's great. I've listened to it.
Oh, you did? Thank you for checking that out.
Yeah.
And we will be back shortly with our commentary track for Attack of the Clones. A little bit belated, but better for it. Yeah. And we'll also be back with some headlines and things. We've been absent for a few weeks, so we have a whole slew of headlines to discuss, along with some listener letters, etc.
Yeah.
But thank you once again for listening. This has been Movie Film 160. No, wait. What episode is this? 148. Is it 148? My God, are we this close to 150 already?
Wow. Yeah.
Crazy. So that's coming up soon, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.
Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. Enjoy the show. Zachy and